Next up is Sahil Diwan from SafKan Ear Care. Come on up.
All right, so hello everybody. My name is Sahil Diwan, and I am the co-founder and CEO of SafKan Ear Care. And today we're going to talk about earwax. So every week in the US, 231,000 Americans have their ears cleaned by physicians. And we've developed the first automated and wearable cerumen removal device for clinical use. So for those of you who have never had the pleasure, this is what an earwax removal procedure looks like today. 10% of children, 5% of adults, and 57% of older patients have impacted earwax. So the problem is that providers are currently losing money on every single one of these procedures that they perform. And the reason is labor cost. It takes them 20 to 30 minutes to perform one procedure, and they're doing it 231,000 times a week in the US alone. You can actually put the medical office behind schedule about 60% of the time. And as you saw from that last slide, not a fun procedure to go through as a patient. It's messy, it can be painful. It's actually the reason why our co-founder and inventor came up with this device to solve his own problem with impacted earwax. And this is what he came up with. It's the first automated and wearable cerumen removal device for clinical use. One procedure from setup to cleanup takes just 5 minutes, uses pulsed irrigation and continuous suction to remove wax. And as you can see here from our prototype, we're pretty close to start manufacturing it. So the device itself will sell for $4.95 to physicians, and the disposable tips, which we have a 3D printed version of right now, will sell for $3 per bilateral procedure, and the disposable solution and waste containers will sell for $6 per bilateral procedure. So we recently completed our human cadaver trials, and we don't have the time to go through all the pictures, but as you can see here from these before and after, we have some pretty fantastic results. So we're pretty excited about that. And if you're interested in seeing more pictures and even the foreign body removals that we did with beads and silly putty and whatnot, just come find me afterwards. So when we look at the competition, besides the metal syringe that a lot of physicians are using now and the spray bottle options that are out there, there's two devices in the market. The Bionic Soda Clear, which came out in 1999, and the Welch Allyn device that came out in 2001. While these are certainly better than a metal syringe, none of them actually reduce the procedure time, not really solving the provider's real problem. So from the $495 investment that a provider would make purchasing our device, they'd make $2,320 in the first month, and yearly revenue of about $39,000. So what we learned from physicians is that time saved by our device will allow them to pocket that reimbursement and actually profit from it. It'll actually even allow them to see more patients and treat more patients. So every year around the world, about 500 million people have their ears cleaned by physicians, and again, that number is 231,000 a week in the US. So we create the most value for primary care physicians, pediatricians, audiologists, ENTs, who work in hospitals, private practices, healthcare clinics, and even nursing care facilities. So in the US, there's a $600 million reimbursement opportunity for this one procedure every single year. And there are currently 375,000 American physicians that already offer this procedure. So in the year that we've been in business, we've completed the validation and development and testing phase, and we're now focused on clearance as a Class 1 device. And I'll talk about that more a little bit later. We will be doing a small trial of about 30 patients, and we'll be manufacturing our first batch of devices with a local contract manufacturer here. Then we'll take that first batch of devices and get them out to the beta program physicians that we already have. And the point there is to collect data and collect feedback and put together case studies. We'll then use those case studies to focus on landing large government and private contracts, such as the VA, CVS Minute Clinic, and so on. And that fourth phase is really focused on going nationwide and negotiating distribution deals with medical distributors. So 53 physicians signed up for our beta program, and these are going to be our first users and our first customers. A survey of this group of physicians found that the average medical office was performing 16 earwax removal procedures per week. For 72% of those patients, it was the sole purpose of the visit. 66% of these physicians said that they would look to treat more patients with our SafKan set, and 80% of these physicians said that they would pay the $4.95 for the device and the $3 per procedure in disposable tips. I should add that an additional 15% said that they would, with proof of efficacy, which of course makes sense. So coming back to the FDA, we are a Class 1 device. We have a letter from the FDA saying so. We will be submitting a 510K, which by default is a 90-day process, but we've given ourselves a healthy buffer to get through it. And that's all being handled by our regulatory consultant, David Hammond, who's been doing it for 20 plus years. We also currently have a provisional on the SafKan set, and our PCT application was recently filed by Seed IP, and the non-provisionals will be coming afterwards. So we have an extraordinary engineering team, 4 of which are PhDs in computer and electrical engineering, along with the inventor and our CTO, who's the biomedical engineer on the team. Sean and Ryan have great experience in the quality control and manufacturing process, which of course is going to be important. And I myself bring the business experience to the team, having started 2 companies before this. We do plan to bring a director of sales who's done this before on relatively soon, so one who's sold to primary care, pediatricians, and even hospitals. So if anybody has recommendations, please let me know. We also have some pretty awesome advisors. We have the scientific advisors that not only see the need, but the want for our device, and they've helped develop and test it along the way. We have David Hammond, who's our regulatory consultant and advisor, who's been doing this for 20 plus years and it's working to get us through the FDA swiftly. And along with Jeff and the Life Science Washington Mentorship Program, we have that medical business experience behind us to make this a really great opportunity. So I think I'd like to wrap things up with a quote from one of our physicians and beta program and advisors. And what he said is that the SafKan team has developed a brilliant concept and design for managing a condition we commonly see here in the office setting. As an educator of primary care physicians, I can envision physicians of the future using SafKan's device as an essential tool in patient care. Their innovative device is unmatched in the industry. So thank you, everybody. My name is Sahil Diwan, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of SafKan Ear Care.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Swetha Kirpalani. I led the due diligence team for SafKan, joined with Bob, Carl, and Javier, who helped along the way. And personally, I don't know much about the medical industry, so when we were doing the due diligence, apart from looking at the product and the team, we spent a lot of time drilling into the FDA piece of it and also just the patent process. So, some of the key things we looked at first was the team. Just a very strong team, 7 people, 4 of them have PhDs, like Sahil mentioned. There will be a need for a director of sales and some junior sales people who can go out and actually sell the medical device. A key learning we had from there was because it's not a very complicated device, you actually don't need too many very experienced and too much technical details to go into when you sell this medical device. So that actually makes it easier to hire some of these junior salespeople. From a product perspective, we definitely looked at the product. The product's here, so take a look. We reviewed the manufacturing. We actually spent time. We talked to the manufacturer, tried to understand the economics of what the unit would cost, and just came to understand what the actual process would be to manufacture this product. You saw the mention of cadaver testing results. We actually spent a couple of hours looking at it, getting into details and asking all sorts of questions. It was not a comfortable situation to look at that, but very informative. I can vouch that. The FDA review, that's where we spend a lot of our time. I think we talked to multiple different people. We not only talked to David Hammond, but we talked to ENT specialists. We talked to people from other organizations who have more knowledge about the FDA process, the timelines and all of that kind of stuff. So that was where we spend a lot of our time. One of the things that Sahil, I think we should talk about here is wings and tags has some interest in your company. So would you like to give an update on that?
Yeah, so we presented to both Wings and Tags fairly recently. We were the most interested company at the last Wings dinner, which was pretty great. And as for those of you who don't know, Wings is the MedTech angel investment group here. So it's been great to have the due diligence process between SAC and Wings going together, since they've been really bouncing off each other very well. So that's what we're looking at there, and I'm hoping tonight goes really well, and then we can get all 3 of these groups in and on the same time. Yeah.
And we, from a SAC due diligence perspective, were able to gain a lot of knowledge from some of the folks from Wings. We were really appreciative of them, spending time with us and talking to us about that. Product availability to the doctor. So being a medical device, it does need to go through FDA clearance. But could you talk a little bit more about, just to educate folks here about the process and when you would actually start selling the product or having the product in the hands of the doctors?
Yeah, so right now it looks like we'll be able to submit our 510K in the next couple months. And as soon as we submit it, we're 510K pending, which allows us to market the device. We can go to conferences and whatnot. So we're certainly be starting to do all that. But once we receive clearance, we're giving ourselves 6 to 9 months to get through clearance, then we can actually start selling them. So we'll start selling them to the beta program physicians that we already have. We'll spend a lot of time doing direct sales here in Washington, online sales here in Washington, and along the West Coast. And that's really the plan for the first year, is to get it out there, prove absolute great value to the physicians, and then start to scale up from there.
And fun fact, if for folks who know what, for Class 1 device, your toothbrush actually is a Class 1 device.
That's right.
So that's, I learned something new. That's about what we had. If there's any other questions?
We have 45 seconds.
All right.
Anyone?
Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you guys. That was great.
So we have some great sponsors that are providing some support for the entrepreneurs. We want to get more entrepreneurs to be successful enough to be angel investors so that we amplify the cycle.